Alright, good afternoon, book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nat Cat's Bookish Cafe. Alright, so today I wanted to do a video which is often known as These Books Will Self-Destruct, if not read within a certain time period. I believe the first person that I saw do this was Becca from Becca and the Books, so I will go ahead and link her channel down below. I believe she does like 12 or so books. I know that if I give myself only 12 months to read 12 books that I'm not like gravitating towards a lot, that I'm 100% going to fail. So I decided to choose only 6 books that have been on my TBR for probably going on almost 2 years now, that I just am not often reaching for or even considering when, you know, creating my monthly TBRs or anything. So I've gone ahead and put them on my book cart so that they're right there and that, you know, they're at the front of my mind when I am selecting books that I want to read. And of course, if I don't read them by end of June next year, I will go ahead and unhaul them. So a lot of these books I got secondhand. I think there's only 2 of them that I bought new. I know sometimes when I go to like a thrift store that I have the problem of buying books that I'm not like super interested in just because the price is really low, so that's probably why they've been sitting on my shelf for such a long time. Also because they've been sitting here for such a long time, I don't really know that much about them anymore. So if you know any of these books, if you've read them and enjoyed them, let me know down in the comments, and that will hopefully help me be more likely to pick them up. So the first book is honestly a book I don't remember anything about. The synopsis on the back doesn't really give me anything, and that is The Glass Palace by Amitav Ghosh. It seems to be slightly like historical, maybe with some magical realism involved. I believe we follow like a group of people over multiple generations, and it seems to be located in India, at least part of it. It was a book that I picked up at a small used bookstore, I think down in Oregon. It's kind of one of those books where, you know, you're kind of trying to be that reader that reads less known books that are more like literary, that are more historical fiction. You're trying to feel more adult and smart by reading this book, but really it's not like something you're super interested in. So I definitely think that was why I picked up this book. And I think there's a couple other books in this stack that I picked up for that reason as well, where I was trying to not just be that girl that reads romance all the time, but you know, there's nothing wrong with reading a bunch of romance, but this seems to have also some romance in it. It says a masterful novel of love, war, and family. So it is still something I'm slightly interested in, but I just hardly ever reach for any sort of historical fiction. So hopefully by putting it on this kind of These Books Will Self-Destruct TBR will kind of push me to pick it up when I wouldn't have. So the next book is a book that I purchased new from Barnes & Noble. It's kind of an older book at this time. I mean, not like super old or anything, but it is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. I mean, I had a lot of interest in this book, but honestly, I think I just had a lot of interest in the cover. But it seems to be a darker fantasy. I think it might still be YA. I can't really remember that much about this. I think it's a revenge story about a girl who I think sees her father killed and goes to like an assassin school. I think it also involves like a female romance. So it has things in it that I'm definitely intrigued by, but ever since I've bought it, I've just never reached for it. So it's been sitting on my shelf for a really long time. I've never read anything by Jay Kristoff. I hear mixed things about him, but I definitely want to give his work a try. So hopefully I eventually pick this up in the next year, so that I can either continue with the series or decide that the series isn't for me, or maybe even the author isn't for me. Alright, so up next we have a book that I got at Value Village, and that is The Concessions of a Young Nero. I do not know much about this guy. I think it was a Roman Empire. Or not, he wasn't a Roman Empire. He was a Roman emperor. And I believe he was the guy that was supposedly fiddling while Rome burned. And this isn't a nonfiction. I believe this is a fictional, but hopefully semi-historical accurate retelling of his upbringing, kind of how he grew up and became emperor, and probably even how he fell. So it's definitely something that seems intriguing to me, but once again, it's historical fiction. So I'm just never really reaching for it. I do love how floppy this book is. That's probably one of the reasons that I picked it up. I'm also, you know, very interested in the idea of Rome. It just seems like an interesting time in history. So I definitely hope that this is one of the ones that I get to. I think I just need to be in the mood for historical, I almost said historical fantasy. Just to be in the mood for any sort of historical story. This will probably be one of the first ones that I pick up as soon as I am in the historical mood. So next we have a book that was relatively popular. I mean, I've heard definitely mixed things about it. Some people really enjoy the series, some people not that much, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper. This is the first book in, is it a quartet or a trilogy? I want to say it's a quartet. And I believe we follow a girl who is in love with Jack the Ripper, maybe. At this point, I don't even really remember. So I don't know if this is YA. I think it might be YA, or maybe it's new adult. I don't think it's adult though. I'm not getting that vibe from this cover, to be honest. So this was a series that, you know, intrigued me for a while, and I kept meaning to pick it up kind of like in the fall months, because that was, you know, the vibe that it was giving me, but I was just never really reaching for it. So hopefully by putting it on this TBR, I'll read it sometime this fall, and see if it's a series I'm interested in. I've never really read much about Jack the Ripper. I've never been one who's like super into like murder podcasts or serial killers. So the time period intrigues me, and following someone who I think is in love. It says, I was a girl who loved the Ripper. So it seems like it might be an interesting point of view, and we'll see how it goes. Alright, for the second to last book, we have a book that was 100% a cover buy. This is the second book that I bought full price. I honestly don't know what came over me. Usually I don't do a lot of cover buys, especially at full price, but this cover was just speaking to me every time I went into Barnes & Noble. So eventually I just caved and got it, and that is Things in Jars by Jess Kidd. I absolutely love this color. I'm a huge fan of blue. It is my favorite color. I'm so glad so many books are blue. But yeah, because it's 100% cover buy, I'm not sure what it is about, and I feel like it has kind of magical realism vibes, and that it's kind of like a mystery. Let's read the back. Birdie Divine, detective extraordinaire, so it is a mystery, is confronted with her most baffling puzzle yet, the kidnapping of Christabel Berwick, secret daughter of Sir Edmund Athelstan Berwick, that's a long name, a peculiar child whose reputed supernatural powers have captured the attention of collectors who trade in curiosities in the age of discovery. So, you know, it sounds actually kind of interesting. I'm not a huge mystery person. I have been getting more into thrillers, but kind of like the mystery books, which are a little slower paced and involve a lot more like talking, just haven't called out to me as much. But hopefully I get to this one and can at least give it a chance, considering I spent $17 on it. All right, and the last book I think is also pretty well known. It is a World War II historical fiction. With those, I've read a few. You know, I've read All the Light We Cannot See. I've read The Book Thief. And I've probably read, you know, a few others throughout my life. It's just these days I'm not as drawn to them. You know, they're obviously really depressing. They also have been, you know, done a lot. So sometimes they're not like the most original. But this one is called Beneath the Scarlet Sky by Mark Sullivan. I think as far as World War II based books, this one I think is relatively popular. I know I've seen it a few times. It's kind of thick, which World War II books always seem to be, which is probably another reason I avoid them. You know, a historical story that just goes on and on forever is usually not something I'm drawn to. Believe it or not, with these books I usually try to read them in the summer. I think because they're just so depressing that I need the sunshine to kind of counteract the sadness that they bring. So maybe I'll get to it this summer, but honestly probably not. But hopefully before the end of next summer I can go ahead and give this a try. Because I think this one takes place in Italy. And I don't think that I have yet read a World War II book that was set like outside of Germany or England. So it is a little bit different than some of the other ones I've read. Alright guys, so those are the 6 books that I am hoping to read before the end of June of 2023. If I do not finish them by then, I will go ahead and unhaul them. At that point, they would have been just sitting on my shelf for so long that it's just obvious I'm not going to get to them. I have so many books on my TBR that I want to read that I'm just not going to waste space on books that I'm not that interested in. Once again, if any of the books I've listed are books you really love and think I should definitely get to, let me know down in the comments and I will see about prioritizing those. Otherwise, thank you for watching this video and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!